Imagine this. It's midnight in America. Sirens scream through the streets, television screens turn black, and an emergency broadcast cuts in with only 3 words. This is real. Panic erupts. Families huddle inside their homes, soldiers scramble to their bases, and a single chilling phrase spreads faster than any virus: zombie outbreak. But what if I told you this isn't just a Hollywood nightmare? What if the United States military has already written a real plan for this exact scenario? Buried in the archives of the Pentagon is something called CONPLAN 8888. On paper, it is described as a counter-zombie dominance plan. To most, that sounds absurd, a joke, some bored officer's late-night prank. But the truth is more unsettling. This plan exists. It was drafted, written, and preserved by the U.S. Strategic Command, and it lays out, step by step, how America would respond to the rise of the undead. So the question is simple. What if CONPLAN 8888 wasn't just an exercise? What if it became the blueprint for survival in a real-world zombie apocalypse? Picture this. Within the first 24 hours of infection, chaos would spiral beyond control. Cities would collapse under their own weight. Highways would choke with abandoned cars, the air thick with smoke from fires no one can put out. You wouldn't hear birds or laughter, only the hollow groans of the infected and the distant hum of helicopters cutting through the night. In those opening hours, according to CONPLAN 8888, the military wouldn't just fight the infected, they would fight to maintain society itself. The plan begins with containment. Martial law declared, curfews imposed, the internet silenced. Ordinary citizens would wake up to a new reality, one where every street corner is patrolled by armed soldiers. But here's the chilling twist. The military doctrine doesn't just prepare to kill zombies. It also acknowledges that human panic may be just as dangerous as the undead. Neighbors turning on each other, stores looted, trust evaporating overnight. Imagine standing in line for food when someone coughs behind you. Would you still believe they're human? Ask yourself this. In those moments, would you trust the government to save you, or would you take survival into your own hands? As the days pass, the plan grows darker. CONPLAN 888 outlines full-scale combat operations against the undead. Tanks rolling down Main Street. Drones circling cities, scanning for movement. Soldiers tasked with neutralizing not just zombies, but anyone suspected of carrying the infection. Think about that. A single bite, a single scratch, and your neighbor, your friend, even your family member could be reclassified as a target. Could you pull the trigger if it meant saving yourself? And here's where the document becomes even stranger. It doesn't describe only one kind of zombie. It lists multiple categories. Pathogenic zombies, created by viruses. Radiation zombies, born of exposure to nuclear fallout. Evil magic zombies, tied to supernatural forces. Even vegetarian zombies, mindless creatures that consume all plant life on Earth. Ridiculous, right? But hidden in that absurdity is a strategy. By using zombies as a placeholder, the military could practice responding to any large-scale disaster, pandemics, riots, nuclear meltdowns, without the political fallout of naming a real country or group. But let's push deeper. What if the absurd was a cover? What if this was never just a training exercise? Imagine for a moment that the government had reason to believe such a scenario could unfold. That somewhere in a lab, experiments had already gone too far. Or that ancient viruses, trapped for millennia in melting ice, could one day reawaken. Would it still seem like fiction then? Now imagine week 2 of the outbreak. Cities are gone, governments fractured. Pockets of survivors cling to life in isolated zones. According to CONPLAN 8888, the military would transition into the next stage, restoring dominance. This isn't about saving everyone anymore. It's about saving enough to rebuild. Strategic bases fortified. Critical leaders are protected. Selected groups of civilians rescued, while millions are left behind. Cold math replaces compassion. The survival of the nation outweighs the survival of the individual. What would you do if you weren't chosen? If the helicopters lifted off without you, and you were left staring at the empty sky as the moans of the dead closed in? And then comes the most disturbing part of all. The plan ends with full eradication. Not containment, not coexistence. Total annihilation of the enemy. Imagine American cities reduced to ash by airstrikes, neighborhoods firebombed to cleanse the infection, nuclear warheads detonated on U.S. soil as a final desperate measure. The cure, in the end, is destruction. But here's the twist that lingers. This plan isn't hidden in some classified vault. It is public. Anyone can read it. It was released through a Freedom of Information request, stripped of its secrets, and left for the world to see. Why? Some argue it was a joke, a clever training tool, a way to prepare without offense. Others whisper it was disclosure disguised as humor, a warning hidden in plain sight. What do you think? Would the government ever admit if they were truly preparing for the unimaginable? Now step back for a moment. Beyond zombies, this plan reveals something bigger. It shows us how fragile our world really is, how quickly normal life can collapse, how thin the line is between order and chaos. You may laugh at the thought of zombies, but remember how fast empty shelves appeared during the pandemic. Remember how silence fell over your city during lockdown. Fear spreads faster than any infection. So maybe CONPLAN 8888 isn't really about zombies at all. Maybe it's about us. About how we react when the systems we depend on fail. About how quickly civilization can unravel when survival is at stake. And about how those in power are already preparing for the moment when fear outweighs hope. Ask yourself this as the credits of this thought experiment roll. If the sirens sounded tomorrow, if the screens went dark, and the word outbreak flashed across them, would you be ready? Would you follow the government's orders, or would you carve your own path in the ruins of the old world? Because CONPLAN 888 might be a joke, or it might be a prophecy. But one truth remains. The greatest threat in any apocalypse is not the monster outside your door. It's the choice inside your mind.